Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the
Oh, yeah.
20th, 2023 Town Council meeting. I would ask that we please stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just shirt.
I would ask that we take a moment of silence now to reflect on all that's been happening in the world and around us. Thank you. I need to announce that this meeting is being taped by LCAT. And I would ask under Mass General Law, if anyone in the audience is taping, recording, audio recording, anything. Seeing none, we will move right along. Public comments. Mr. K, you are on the list for us.
Good evening, everybody. Tom K, 265 Millbrook Drive. Also chairman of the Recreation Commission. Talking tonight in regards to recreation and the number of activities that are being filled up and the number of participants and the fields that we use, and also the current openings that we have with spring is approaching, which means it's pine knoll season coming up not too soon in the summer. So let me start with the activities. For baseball, from T-ball all the way through 14U, we have 314 participants for the spring. We are busting at the seams, as you can tell. Soccer, that's spring soccer, 297 participants. Boys lacrosse, 113. Girls lacrosse, 87. Softball, which has had a resurgence, up to 104.
Wow.
Make sure you beep and cheer them on as you go through the rotary. Stroke and turn, which is swimming. We have for younger folks, that's 24. Swim lessons itself, 150. And we added backyard fun for little tykes, that's 22. And we have an Easter egg hunt being held. That's 162 participants for a total of just under 1,300 participants for spring activities. All right. So the fields that we are using, Maple Shade, girls lacrosse is used there, adult softball, youth softball, and Pinto Overflow, which is Birchland we use for softball and soccer. Mountain View we use for soccer, boys lacrosse, T-ball. High school, the turf field, we only use for lax and soccer, and sometimes overflow for diamonds when the fields are in tough shapes for baseball. Meadowbrook, we use for soccer. Pine Knoll, we use for T-ball. Center field is used for youth softball and adult softball. 14U baseball, which is that 90-foot diamond in the back. Then the 10U for baseball is that little field where all the geese were today at Leahy. Heritage, right over here. 12U baseball and 8U baseball and girls lacrosse in the back field. Lennox Field was given us another second chance. So we have that for lacrosse and soccer overflow until American Sod does what they do with it. All right. Also wanted to let everybody know that we have Pine Knoll registration is open. And we are accepting applications for counselors in training and the PK staff, and we need lifeguards, lots and lots of lifeguards. I think I saw today a lifeguard could earn $16 an hour. And the head of the lifeguard group is $18 an hour. Great summer jobs. And we're starting bowling for all abilities. It's starting next week from 4 to 6 p.m. And we're looking for coaches for all sports. We have a shortage of coaches. Doesn't matter if anybody never played the sport. We just need volunteers to help. So thank you for the time. If you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Amazing.
Any questions? Bowling.
I've
Okay.
signed up for the Easter egg hunt.
Hey,
Oh,
it's just some good ones.
I'm assuming the bowling is at a local bowling
Yep.
alley.
Yep.
that's cool.
Yeah. More participants, more activities for all ages.
Awesome.
Super, great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sam.
Thanks for the time.
Okay. Do we see anyone online that's raising their hands for public comment? No. Okay, council comments. Any comments? Counselors, anything?
I know you have something. to
You know
say.
I can't let it go. So under council comments, I had asked Mary where we stood with the civil service update. Obviously, last year, the legislative session had run out before they could vote on it. So the bill has been reintroduced this year. They haven't, the last I knew, they hadn't assigned it a bill number. It hasn't gone to subcommittee or anything, but it is still in the works and still going through the system, and it could take a while. But I did want to give everyone an update on that. I also came to the council 2 months ago, 3 months ago, and asked for permission to compile a fee schedule. Just wanted to give an update as of 1:30 last night. I finished the DPW portion, so other than proofreading it, that'll be all set to go. What my thought is, I'll probably submit it through Jeannie to go to the departments so that they can update, because all the information I had was from 21 and 22. And I'm sure the fees have changed and stuff, so before it comes in front of us, I'm hoping to get everything updated and then we can go through a bylaw process. Town manager report. Mary, do you have something for us?
Oh, thank you.
Great.
This report is somewhat stale because it was given to you a week or so ago in anticipation of Tuesday's meeting. So I didn't, I'll supplement it orally. I didn't draft anything additional. With respect to 382 North Main Street, among the many traits and qualities that Tom Christensen has brought to the town manager's office is his ability to do floor planning exercises as we're trying to determine, I'm just joking, but it's very nice work. We think that we're finished now as of today. We did a walkthrough on Friday of last week, the superintendent, Tom and myself, and there was some cleanup work that needed to be done today. I didn't get there today. Did you, Tom?
I did.
Done?
Done.
Okay, so now we'll arrange for a moving company to move finance, HR, and probably planning and building as opposed to assessors, which is what I had referenced in my earlier report. And there are reasons for that that I can go into at length at some future date if you're interested, but finance is anxious to go. HR, my view, needs to be there so that our administrative function can be consolidated into one place, and I think they'll be more efficient. So hopefully, as of the end of March, we'll see some relocation. And I intend to take up residence there at least part-time to give the town hall manager's office to the deputy in the anticipation that the day-to-day stuff that comes up in that building, he can handle, and I'll be there as a somewhat of a pinch hitter. The broadband committee, Ralph, Tom, and Ryan, again, Connor, sorry, no offense, met again to review the options for completion of that fiber to home project. And I believe that the consensus was that we wanted to do business with Westfield Whip City Fiber. It'll be an expensive proposition that'll take some extensive planning and work, but we think it's the best way to go in light of the fact that they're already established and their infrastructure's in place and they can take us on. And we will then have our, hopefully in the June election, the municipal light plant vote. And I know Tom and Jeannie have been communicating about the necessary language for that. Meetings continue to occupy my time personally with Westcom and the Veterans Board. In case you're unaware, the last hired veteran service officer who I was so elated about last month's meeting is no longer with us for reasons that are his, but unfortunately, he wasn't able to continue in the position. And he was meeting with the district administrator this morning to make arrangements to return the district-owned property that he had in his possession. And he's got some personal effects in this office here that he'll have to retrieve. And I did get an email just this afternoon from Representative Ash's office asking me to participate in a meeting on Zoom at one of 2 times next week with the Veteran Service Subcommittee to determine if there's any way that the initial qualifications for the position could be amended or lessened so that we can attract a larger pool of candidates. So it's an ongoing problem for our veterans. Very frustrating for the district communities. The district has been in communication with Holland and Brimfield in the hopes that we'll attract those communities to join the district, which will reduce East Long Meadow's financial commitment a little bit, but there's no commitments yet. So that's an ongoing problem. I don't know how else to characterize it. And Westcom is doing fine, making operational improvements as best they can. We're still, in fact, tomorrow morning at 8:30, I have another executive session meeting to discuss the executive director's employment contract. So that has been a work in progress that has taken, 5 or 6 executive sessions that are just very time consuming, and the negotiation back and forth, as you know well from your own experience. So we're moving forward, but it's time consuming and somewhat complex. There was a big meeting, well-attended meeting on March 3rd at the new facility. Chief Williams was there and he spoke very well of his view of the operations. Representatives from the city of Holyoke, East Hampton, I think Southampton, and a few other communities were there who are interested in joining the district eventually, and they just wanted to know the advantages and the disadvantages. So there was and the 9/11 staff from Boston, Frank Posniak, and a couple of his deputies were present also to answer questions of those other community officials. And then we had a tour of the facility, which has a long way to go before it's operational, but it's very large. And I think they have room now. They anticipate having 30 dispatchers ultimately. So there's a lot of big plans there too. And town manager or the town administrator in each of the 5 communities that are members of the district now are obviously active participants in all these boards. And again, it's a very large investment of time. And our new financial director, Kim, told me today that as I was making plans with her for tomorrow about this year's budget, she got an email inviting her to the finance committee subcommittee of Westcom. Steve Lonergan, our former director, was the treasurer of that district. And so now Kim's taking his place, and that's a newly assigned duty for her. So just point these things out because they take time. Everything takes time, and they're not easy issues that you can just, pass off. You have to really give them some serious thought. But having said that, we were able to do a management review of all the department operating budgets over the last couple of weeks. Tom, Kim, myself, and then selected departments about which I had some questions were called in. And those department heads offered the explanation for the request. In some cases, it was equipment requests, and in others, there was a request for a new nursing position, which is really an old nursing position that hasn't been filled for a couple of years. So we talked to health, we talked to Council on Aging, which would be sharing that nurse position if it goes through. And then we had a request from the clerk's office that was very well explained and necessary. And so we'll see what happens with that. I have engaged Western Mass Development Corporation to assist us in the grant preparation for a MassWorks grant. I mentioned Jeff Daly at a couple of prior meetings. Jeff's the CEO over there, and he has great experience with the MassWorks program, great successful experience, I should say. So he is working with Bruce Fenney and with Bailey on a planning overseer type grant, but that's separate from the major proposal that they've offered. They're going to do a MassWorks application for the Chestnut Street pumping project, which is a $2.5 million project that Mr. Daly seems to think would be a prime candidate for a MassWorks grant. So later on in the financial section, there's a request for a payment, an initial payment to Tie and Bond for the design that relates to this topic that I'm referring to now. Bailey will be with us later on. As you know, he submitted the energy reduction plan, which is the last step to become a green community for your review tonight. We have received $120,000 plus change in opioid settlement funds from the Attorney General's class action suits that we brought in the last year against certain pharmaceutical companies. There will be more money forthcoming in fiscal '24. And those funds have designated uses for abuse prevention and client victim services sort of things. So I think most of that money will be spent by either the police department and or the health department or some combined effort on those two departments in the future. Our negotiations with the fire department are still, let's call them stalled. We'll probably go into mediation. And negotiations are recently underway with the clerical and professional units of the UPSI, former town employees union. Again, another time-consuming endeavor that Tom has been carrying the heavy lifting on that for the most part, but the negotiation sessions are generally blocked off in 2-hour periods. And we meet with council for a good hour or so before those sessions and sometimes an hour or so after those sessions. So if it seems like there's not a lot going on in these reports, it's because we're busy doing those things. As you know, too, the school building committee voted its preliminary schematic report for design and submitted it to the Mass School Building. That was on March 9th. Last Thursday, the 16th was the community forum. Just as I was getting ready to walk out the door to go, there was another emergency call from Rep. Ash's office about a dog mauling incident, followed up by the VSO issue with the resignation and so forth. So I'm glad I did view the meeting online and saw a number of questions that all seemed, obviously germane and relevant, and I thought were answered pretty well by the architectural team and Mr. Smith. So a lot of things are going on at the same time that are all complicated. Finance oversight has begun its meetings they had their initial meeting, and then I guess a couple of days after I submit the draft budget, they'll start in earnest with their departmental review. And Tom Kay took my thunder away on my last sentence here, speaking about the activities in the recreation department. Can't say enough about the efforts that Donna Prather makes in that regard. She services this public in East Long Meadow with a diligence and dedication that's really remarkable. So I want to give her some praise. And of course, the library and Council on Aging do the same. I often call those three departments the soft skill departments, and I mean no disrespect in calling them that. In fact, it's probably, truth be told, high praise, because they take care of the needs on a personal level of certain demographics in town. Certainly the children. Council on Aging deals with all the issues affecting the elderly, and the library, of course, is a community resource without so. That's my report.
Do any counselors have any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to minutes. We have the February 14th, 2023 open session minutes. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the February 14th open session minutes.
Second.
Having a motion made and seconded, is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. Communications, correspondence, and announcements. Our town clerk, Jeannie Salviati, would like to speak about the election update.
Yes, I just wanted to give a brief update on the election since the deadline for nomination papers was March 14th. And then I thought of other things. And I thought it's a brief update, so I cut back about 3 pages. But starting with the elections, we didn't have enough candidates taking out papers for preliminary, so there'll be no preliminary election. For the 2 3-year seats for town council, we have Marilyn Richards reelection. She brought in papers for that. And John Torsha also for town council. And then for the 2 3-year seats for school committee, we've got Greg Thompson for reelection and Kathleen Layden. So we've got 2 candidates so far for 2 seats. So unless we have write-ins, it'll be a easy election. I don't know, for me to, I have to plan the same, whether we're going to have a presidential election or local. And I deem them both equally important. So March 30th, that is actually the deadline to withdraw papers. So if any candidate wants to withdraw papers, they can do that by March 30th. So moving on to local elections, vote by mail is now required for all local elections unless the town council opts out. They have to do that with a separate vote for every election if they want to do that 45 days before the election. Unless you feel differently, I would suggest we keep vote by mail for local elections. It's less confusing for the voters because it's required for state and federal elections. So if we just have it for all the elections, I think it'd be less confusing because there's changes all the time for the voters. Excuse me. And we already have a supply of postage paid envelopes for the people to return their ballots to us if they want to do the vote by mail. And we have some envelopes too in our stock to send those out. So I do have postage covered. It'll be very little postage for the local election for this fiscal year. So unless you feel differently, let me know and we can arrange for a vote to opt out of that, but I don't think we should. In-person early voting is not required for local elections. It is required for state and local. This is the early in-person voting. The town council can opt in to do this. So it took me a while to get these 2 things straight. So I wouldn't suggest having early in-person voting for local elections. It's expensive and it's time consuming. Early in-person voting, as you know, or as you don't know, I have to set up every day like it's a mini election day. And it's a lot of work and I just don't think it's worth the expenses of hiring election workers to do that and just the extra steps. But again, if you feel differently, let me know. Recently, excuse me, the state sent out a survey for all the cities to fill out, asking what expenses were incurred for vote by mail and early in-person voting. And as a result of that, we got back over $11,000, where $4,000 was for postage covered. And I was happy about that because it was expensive. We say there's 3,000 people that request a vote by mail, maybe half of them will return it. And the work, and I'm going to send you a spreadsheet of what we have to do for every piece of it's amazing. So, well, we have less ballots coming back if we requested them. It's kind of annoying for us because it's a lot of work and then they either forget or so that's that. And then at the time I wrote you this report, the state auditor's office was kind of wishy-washy. If they're going to do it every year, they're told they should reimburse us every year, but it wasn't a law yet. But I just saw that Maura Healey, the governor, submitted a supplemental bill, a budget to cover these expenses for this year. So it's still year by year. So I still budget for everything just in case we don't get the money back because you never know what's going to happen. Another thing happening with the state is the extensions of pandemic related authorizations. And for us, for my office, this is, and for you, remote meetings until March 31, 2025. So we can still do remote hybrid meetings until then. And then the other part of that is any dining establishments that requested temporary outdoor dining under the COVID restrictions can continue until 2024. It was supposed to be April 1 of this year, but they can continue with that. So I had sent out something to the establishments we had saying, well, if you want to keep your temporary outdoor dining, you have to do alteration of premises through the ABCC. Well, now they don't have to do that until next year. So that's for Craft 32. That might be important for them too. Conflict of interest ethics training. I held an ethics training in this room on March 9, and the presentation was great for whoever attended. He did a great job. A lot of background and history on the laws. We had over 30 attending, mostly from East Long Meadow, but extended the invite to neighboring communities. And I had the town clerks for Hamden, Ludlow, and Munson here attend with a few of their board and commission members. So I thought that went well. David Gennady was here. He's his title. He's the Chief of Public Education and Communications Division of the State Ethics Commission, and he did a great job. He was
Excellent
he
program.
had to drive back to the Cape home that night, but he was willing to stay. I think he stayed with you, Ralph, to answer a few questions. I had enough money to pay for it. So, to piggyback that, the state's launched an online ethics training program. You still do it online, but this was part of Jackie's responsibilities, is trying to keep track, a database of everyone's who's completed it and have their certificates on hand. Well, now the state all does that. It's all centralized at the state level. We still keep track, but we have access to their portal, and you don't have to print the certificates. It's all done electronically through the state. So that's a big plus for the administrators, the town clerks of the state. So that's the brief update. We're still doing dog licensing and public records requests, which take a lot of our time. Again, Jackie helps track those for me. The open gov permitting with business certificates is fantastic. I think we're still tweaking a little bit, but Bailey's done an amazing job, and I love what we're doing there. And the dog licensing too. Censuses, they're still coming back. And time marches on. So we're busy, but any questions with anything?
Questions? So on the extension of the pandemic related authorization, Senate hasn't voted on that yet.
I just looked that up today and it said March 9th. But that the Senate voted on it, and I was surprised to see that, because usually I get it from the ABCC will contact us and the Town Clerks Association will contact us. But I have something here that said it was
Voted and approved.
March 9th, yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
still expect to get official,
House and was still waiting to go through the Senate.
right.
If it did, that's
And MMA put something out about that as well.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, but I haven't seen anything from those resources yet. But
No, I haven't. either.
yeah, so.
It'll go through.
great. Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda is a public hearing. It is 6:28. This is a public hearing for a liquor license, change of officers, directors, LLC managers, change of ownership interest, change of stock interest, change of DBA, and change of manager for an all alcohol beverages on premises license. SLLC DBA Craft 32 at 50. I will announce the council members. We have Mike Kane on Zoom. Connor Roche, Marilyn Richards, I'm Ralph Page, Kathy Hill, Matthew Boucher, and Anna Jones. Jeannie, if you could please read the legal notice into the record.
Okay. Notice is hereby given under chapter 138 of the general laws that Mass LLC DBA Craft 32 Bistro and Events has applied for a change of officers, directors, LLC managers, change of ownership interest, change of stock interest, change of DBA, and change of manager for an all alcohol beverages on premises license at 53 North Main Street, East Long Meadow, Massachusetts. The town council will hold a public hearing on the application on Tuesday, March 14, continued to tonight, 2023 at 6:15 at the Council on Aging Media Room, 328 North Main Street, or via Zoom webinar. For the council, Jean R. Quaglitti, town clerk of the council.
Thank you. So just for basic information, we have the applicant. I will have you go through, explain what's going to happen, what you'd like to happen. Open it up to the public after that, then we'll bring it back to the board. So at this time,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Daniel Kelly, attorney, Mulberry Street, Springfield, for the applicant. To my left is Joseph Sullivan, who will be 50% owner of the entity. You may remember we were in front of you back in January. This is the exact same proposal. It is just formatted slightly differently. ABCC wanted my office to do different forms, so we use them. But there'll be absolutely no change from what you've already voted previously unanimously in your January meeting. If you may remember at our last meeting, your last meeting that we were here in January, we brought a trail of, 10 or 15 supporters. We're here tonight solo, but I think those people would, since it's the exact same presentation, probably feel the same way. If anything, perhaps being 2 months later, particularly given what last weekend was, gives you a better idea of the type of operator that we're hopeful that you'll be welcoming to your town. Craft 32 will probably never be busier than it is once a year this past weekend. Although it is not an Irish themed bar, the two proposed owners are well-known Irish Americans who have, in fact, this year they were given multiple awards by the Springfield St. Patrick's Day Committee, marks in the parade, things of that nature. They own another bar in the city of Springfield that is a well-known Irish bar. So just the spillover effect, we figured, would cause them to have a very large crowd there. In anticipation of that, the owners went and talked to both the police department and your fire department. In fact, they hired members of the East Palmetto Police Department to be there to help with the crowd control if should it be necessary, with traffic should it be necessary. Although I don't think it was nearly as crowded as they anticipated at this particular venue. They were ready in case it was. In fact, they have, as you heard, we'll get to that in a second about the outdoor patio was set up with a heated tent and it was not really used. Was no need for overflow. Most people stayed inside and they were closed up at the regular time about midnight or so. So it wasn't a late night event either. As you may remember, they also came in front of you for a 1-day permit for would have been last Friday, right? Last Friday, which would be the Mummers Parade. It's a large band that comes out of Philadelphia that is comprised mostly of law enforcement members and some local members as well. And they get on a Peter Pan bus, or I think 2 buses actually, and they go to different banks. I mean, they go to liquor stores, they go to bars, they go to different venues. They were here. The Sullivans had reached out to both your law enforcement agencies and your fire agencies and had, kind of coordinated with them and got a 1-day permit for you. And I was told from my understanding is that also went off without a hitch. So perhaps ABCC pushing us back for 2 months created a better opportunity for us to show you exactly the type of operator that you'll be hopefully welcoming into your town. A little about Joseph Sullivan next to me. Joseph Sullivan lives in the city of Hampden, or the town of Hampden, excuse me. He's a 50% owner of Nathan Bills. He will not be the day-to-day manager of Craft 32. The new bar would be called, the new restaurant would be called East Village Tavern. John Sullivan, they're not related. Everyone thinks they are, but they're not.
Both fathers, Jerry Sullivan.
Yes.
Guys.
Yeah, both fathers are the same name. That's correct. They're not related. Everyone thinks they are, but they're not. John Sullivan was your last one, I believe is on Zoom, is the proposed manager. He will be the day-to-day face that you will see there. Joe, as you may remember last time that we were here in January, was actually on his honeymoon. He's back from the worldwide tour. And he's here. So that's why he's here tonight.
I don't bring an entourage. So
Yeah. That's why he's here tonight. They are tip certified. Everyone who works there is tip certified. Tip certification will be a condition of employment. They're trying to revitalize the food aspect, and they have done that to some degree already. They've hired a chef. They focused on the menu. This will not be a bar. It will be a restaurant. It's a place where you can go, where your family can go. You can watch the Red Sox or Bruins or Celtics and have a beer. Yes, but you could also sit down and have a full meal. And I think they've had some opportunity now to be in your town, and hopefully you'll have heard some good reviews of their food and the way they handle service there. So since we've been in front of you already with the exact same presentation, I'll cut it short here. I know you have a lengthy agenda, but I'll certainly welcome any questions you have. But that's essentially what we're here for.
Perfect.
We will come back. Following up on what you heard earlier about the ABCC. This does not involve the alteration of premises, but full disclosure, as I said to you in January, they will be back to attempt to have you vote on whether or not to make the patio. It's been there since COVID permanent. So they will, I just want to not hide the ball. They are coming back with that. We will be back hopefully next month or two on your agenda to do that. Once this is approved, should you approve it, should the ABCC approve it, they will be back to that as well. But that's not before you tonight.
Exactly. So at this time, I'm going to open it up to the audience. If there's anyone that would like to speak for or against this. think that was all the last time. Is there anyone
Again, John Sullivan.
would like to speak? Is there any hands up? Okay, so I will bring it back to the board for any questions. I think this is, like I said, we've already been through the whole process. I will say the food was excellent. I
Thank you.
have eaten there. It was great.
Good comment.
Absolutely.
I drove by on Friday. I saw the bus in the parking lot. And then I went to the grocery store and I came back just as the bus was leaving. You had to have used a shoehorn to get all those cars lined up in the parking lot. There wasn't a car out in the street. I mean, it was, if I hadn't looked for it, I would have missed it, except the bus was sitting there.
I think the East Long Meadow PD deserves the credit for that. We had
Well, then,
signed to traffic.
thank you, East Long Meadow PD. Because it was, I could, from the outside, it looked like it was quite of a smooth operation. And
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Anything else? So at this time, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the public hearing portion is closed. Do I have a motion to approve?
I motion to approve change of officers, directors, LLC managers, change of ownership interest, change of stock interest, change of DBA, and change of manager for an all alcohol beverages on premises license for Mess LLC DBA Craft 32 at 53 North Main Street to manager John Sullivan and DBA East Village Tavern.
I'll second that motion.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. To do a roll call on this, Jeannie?
Think so. Because Mike on Zoom.
Oh, right.
And you should have done it on the motion to close public hearing too.
I said, because Mike's on Zoom.
Yeah,
Yeah, but it's still considered
it
a,
has to be done regardless.
it's not considered a remote meeting. It's considered an in-person meeting, but let's do a roll call vote just to make sure.
For all the votes, yeah.
Exactly. Anna,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
I'm a yes. Marilyn,
Yes.
Connor,
Yes.
Michael.
Public hearing.
Yes.
Should I reiterate the vote to close the public hearing with a roll call?
I
vote?
would
Just,
think it's wise.
so we had a motion made and seconded. We took a vote, but I'd like to do a roll call on the motion to close the public hearing. Anna,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
I'm a yes. Marilyn,
Yes.
Connor,
Yes.
Michael.
Yes.
Okay. I think
Thank you.
we covered everything.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, number 9A, we have licensing matters. We have a one-day liquor license. A motion on the floor.
Move to approve a one-day liquor license for St. Paul the Apostle Church for a baby shower on April 1st, 2023, from 6 to 11 p.m.
I'll second it.
I can see.
Having a motion made and seconded, is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Do I have to do each one as a roll call tonight?
I'd say to be safe, it wouldn't hurt, but I'm gonna look into that with the open meeting law.
Okay, that's fine. So roll call vote. I'm gonna stay with the same order. Anna,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
I'm a yes. Marilyn,
Yes.
Connor,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
perfect. Financial matters. We have the approval of $9,321 transfer.
The one-day liquor license, did you do that?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I was writing down. Sorry about that.
Yes. Okay. This is for the Eastern Hampden County Veterans Services. Motion.
I move to approve a $9,321 transfer from free cash for the Eastern Hampden County Veterans Service District FY23 operating budget assessment.
Second the motion.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? So without a veteran services officer, will this be changing afterwards based on possibility or?
No, this amount is still necessary because the soon to be appointed veteran service officer, whoever he or she may be,
We're expecting
is
same pay rate.
paid a salary that's in the $68,000 to $70,000 range, as opposed to our former VSO that was making 20 based on personal reasons. So this is necessary to cover us through the balance of June 30th of
Okay.
this year. And then going forward next year, I just want to advise you now, it's going to be higher because this only reflects a deficiency based on the 6 months of the second 6 months of the fiscal year. Next year,
But going forwards, that'll probably be tied up in the budget.
yes,
For additions. Okay.
yes.
So we are going to take a roll call vote. I will start with Michael,
Yes.
Connor,
Yes.
Marilyn.
Yes.
I'm a yes. Kathy.
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Anna.
Yes.
Okay. We're gonna jump to B2. The closure of the Allen Street landfill. Is there a motion?
I motion to approve a $14,600 transfer from free cash to the Health Department for post-closure work at Allen Street landfill.
A second?
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. Oh, we'll start roll call vote. Anna,
Yes.
it's gonna take me a while
I know.
tonight, okay? Matt,
Yes.
Kathy.
Yes.
I'm a yes. Marilyn.
Yes.
Connor.
Yes.
Michael.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, B3. Transfer from cash for the purchase and installation of the firearm evidence storage lockers. Is there a motion?
I move to approve a $24,222.41 transfer from free cash for the purchase and installation of firearm and evidence storage lockers for the police department.
Second.
Further discussion?
Yes.
If you weren't, I was, so go ahead.
Thank you, Ralph. First of all, thank you both for being here from the police department too. Given being on the CAP committee and reviewing the proposal for the past few months, I definitely understand the need and completely agree with it from that perspective. However, I was a bit surprised for it to shift from being a capital project request to being part of a free cash request in front of the council midway through the budget process. It's not a large amount of money, so I don't necessarily have a big concern from it from that perspective, but from a optics perspective, I don't necessarily love the process here, mostly because it seems like we would, if we approve it, be prioritizing any department that now comes before the council that seemingly wants to circumvent capital and budget process that we're almost at the conclusion of. That wouldn't have been too many months into the future before us. And then I know that there's the concern that, this is something that's long been needed, but when I look at the proposal, the original revision of it was from last year. So to me, although yes, it is a need, I don't know how critical of a need that it couldn't have waited 3 months or so. That's my only
No, that's okay.
comment for that.
Any other questions? Mary, you had a comment?
I was just going to say, I think the need is urgent, and notwithstanding the fact that it might have been recognized last year, it was the subject of an audit that the chief asked me for approval to conduct pretty much 5 minutes after he took the job. And our new finance director also pointed out with elaboration from Chief Williams, and then he's here, so I'd be happy to have him talk further about this. There's not just a security financial, there's a security, there's a physical. These are all very, very urgent needs that I think we should have corrected last year. And so perhaps that's on me for not pushing it then. But Chief, I'm sorry, if you want to call him the chief.
Yes, I'm going to, but I do have a question. I don't remember seeing this on our actual capital projects last year.
I don't either, but if
And that's why
they were,
me, this was brand new. And then when I saw it go to capital, our capital has a threshold of 25,000. And so it appeared as though they were trying to put multiple items together to get it over that threshold. Which I didn't, I don't know if storage lockers for firearms really have anything to do with desks and moving of a wall.
that's a separate issue.
Yeah, well, that's why I thought they were two separate, and again, it's not a ton of money. For security reasons, that's why I suggested that we move it to the free cash and have a discussion on it. Chief, what's your thoughts?
Thank you, Counselor. Yes, that is true. This was lumped in with other building related requests to get over the capital threshold, as this fell just short on the quote that that Lieutenant Manning had gotten from the vendor who we want to use. So that is why it was on capital lumped in. I understand that concern, Counselor Shea. I hadn't thought of it in that way, but I totally understand the optics of it. I did feel like there is an urgency to this. Yes, it was not on capital last year. I believe I made an inquiry of finance about the free cash process last year and don't recall getting a response. Shame on me for maybe not being a little bit of a squeakier wheel to push that issue more, because it is an urgent need. And it's something, both from a safety and liability standpoint that I've been wanting to address, as Mary said, since about 5 minutes after I was hired. This was one of the high priority issues. I wish I had it before you sooner. That's my fault for it not being brought before you sooner, but that's where we're at on that. Any other?
Lockers, if we do an addition or anything, can be moved over and all.
Yes, these are
Not
all
like it's a one-shot deal. Oops, sorry, we put them in now, and
correct.
I'd love to say next month we're putting up the addition, but we both know that's not.
Okay.
No,
Chief, could you humor me for a minute and explain how you use the firearm locker?
These would be to store officers' firearms outside of our booking area. So if they're bringing a prisoner in to be booked, their firearms are stored outside of the area where the prisoner is booked. That is a basic safety rule 101 in every police department anywhere. And this department has not been set up for that.
Ever?
To my knowledge, no, there are lockers where they can be stored, but I'll just say they're not in a place that is a safe place to do it in the transfer of the custody of the prisoner. They're just not in a good location. This would be putting them.
Appreciate you wanting to bring the department up to current regulations. I think that's important. Thank
you.
any other questions, discussion? We have a motion on the floor. We're gonna go with a roll call vote. Anna?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Marilyn?
Yes.
Connor?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Okay. We are gonna jump to B4. Transfer from free cash for office renovation and furniture needs. Is there a motion?
There is a motion, motion to approve $13,121 to transfer from free cash for the office renovation and furniture needed for the police department.
Second?
Okay, having a motion made and seconded. Any discussion? So this is, if I understood correctly, when I talked to you, for the sergeant's area to be reset and maybe a wall or whatever moved.
Not moving a wall, but taking a space that where we need to put the sergeants to have their dedicated office space. When we created the lieutenant's position, he needed his own office space, so we put him in the space that was formerly for the sergeants. And so now we're moving the sergeants into a space where our old dispatch supervisor, I understand, worked out of. So we want to convert that room into a space for them. So this funding would go to help. It's just some light renovation. We don't need to knock down any walls or anything. Hoping to get some new carpet and things like that, but we need new desks. And we need, this would also cover new furniture at multiple points in the station.
Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Mike, I'm going to start with you.
Thank you. Yes.
Connor?
Yes.
Marilyn?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Kathy?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
And Anna?
Yes.
Okay, those two items done.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, B5. Oh, yeah, we're gonna bring the chief up. Before we even go into a motion, I'd like to hear about this. How did you manage this one?
Have it out of my hat.
This is, so I guess I should jump in. This is to approve a $752,380.95 award to the East Long Meadow Fire Department.
Wow.
Correct. It is a two-part because we do have a share on our part. When Jeannie was making the motion for the approval, I didn't have a number yet because the pricing of the trucks, like, but everything now fluctuates. I got the pricing over the weekend. So I have some paperwork. Mike, I'm sorry, I wasn't sure you'd be online. I could have sent it to you earlier. So every year FEMA offers an assistance to firefighters grant program to departments throughout the country. There's 400 million total for disbursement. And we apply all the time. I've gotten a lot of grants for air packs, bunker gear, and other items like that. When I was going for the ladder truck years ago, I always put
Thank you.
in a request in for the ladder truck and never made it past what they call computer scoring. It never got to the article for where they read your narrative. So you spend all that time on the narratives and they never even read it. This year I put it in, or actually October of 2021, I put it in to be awarded by October of 2022. They have to get all the awards out by FEMA's federal fiscal year, which starts October 1st. So they have to be done by September 30th. So I didn't get it. I figured it was another, stab in the dark. Let's move on. I did submit the truck for my capital for this year. And Monday last week, I got a phone call from the gentleman that used to represent us from FEMA. He took a job working as a consultant. He goes, Chief, I'm giving you a call, let you know your grant award has been approved. And I went, thought it was done. He goes, nope, they're going to give you $752,000 for a fire truck.
Wow.
I just went, are you, punking me or whatever? And he said, no, you'll hear either from your congressman or from FEMA directly. And I did. I heard from, I got an email from FEMA Wednesday morning. I let Mary know. And that started the busy process of calling back up and saying, I need current pricing. Come to find out, the current pricing has drastically changed since I submitted the grant. I submitted it for $790,000. The price right now, if we were just to buy it without any prepaid discounts, is $990,000. And with the caveat that there's only so many engines available before they go through the next revision or next generation of Cummins engines, which will add a ballpark of $100,000 to the cost of the truck, is what they're telling us. I got that email over the weekend with the price of the truck on it, and it floored me. I knew it was high because I submitted it for capital for this year. So I knew it was going to be up there, but it's still amazing. The sad part is there is a time frame on when we have to accept the grant, which is 30 days after being notified, which was Wednesday. So sometime first or second week in April. But there's also a time frame on when we can we make sure we can keep that engine in the queue for us. There's no guarantees because our manufacturer is not the only ones drawing off of these engines. It all depends on customer orders. We have a need for $221,000. I spoke with Mary today. She suggested the free cash. I don't think we can wait until capital. I don't want to wait for capital, and I know it's not in the queue. I wish I had a little more heads up, but I gave you guys a little more time. I spoke with Kimberly today. Just in case, is there enough free cash? She said there's plenty of free cash. It all depends on how they want to handle it. I'd really love to be able to, get the town almost $1 million fire truck for $221,000. And I don't know if the council is in favor of making a motion tonight to not only approve the grant, but also approve a transfer of $221,000, $330.05 for the order of the
So we currently have a fire truck leased, right?
We have a fire truck that we ordered,
I think Capital just talked about
right? So
205, which is roughly 200,000 per lease.
I think it was, just shy, yeah. So that's replacing a truck that when the new one comes in, that'll be close to 30 years old. The standard is when it gets to 15, it should become a spare. We definitely have been stretching that. This truck, when this truck comes in, the truck it's replacing will be 25 years old or older. Actually, it'll be probably 26 to 27 years old. It's a 2.5 year delivery time on fire trucks right now. No matter what manufacturer you get.
Point was, I mean, if we didn't accept the grant and purchase it, this is like one payment of a lease.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
But if I may, I don't think you have to make that decision. You have to make the decision to accept the grant tonight, but I don't think you have to make the appropriation tonight from free cash. I think the key is to make them aware of it. And you can
Right.
certainly vote to do it if you choose, but I think we have time for you to get a more comfort level on that and see what the balance of free cash is. Currently, it sits around 3.9. It may be higher in the next couple of weeks. It may be lower, who knows? But I think there's time on the grant period, the 30-day response.
Right. I'm just nervous about the engine though. Like we talked today, I don't want to miss the engine. And I don't know if 30 days is we should be okay, but I don't, yeah.
No, but I mean, you're not going to get the truck. What do you mean?
We have to order it to lock in the engine.
Yeah.
Right.
They're meeting again on April 11th.
Yeah.
I don't like to disagree with the chief or argue with him in any way, shape or form, but I'm just saying if this is
Big change.
you for tonight,
Yeah.
going from
right.
37,000 to 220. So if you want time to think about it, I think we have time. That's
Yeah.
So I would ask.
I
the
just
board-
have a procedural question. Let's say we approve this 752,000 grant tonight. And we delay discussion on free cash of 221. Were we to say no to that in April? Where does that leave the chief with saying yes to the grant and then, oh no, sorry, here's your money back?
I don't know how that works.
And you don't get the 750.
Yeah, right. We don't get the 750 until we spend the 750. Yeah.
It seems to me for the equivalent of one lease payment, we're getting $1 million truck out of it and down the road. I don't think it's a bad opportunity I don't think it's an opportunity we should ignore. What could change in a month for 3 weeks to April 11th?
I think the other good thing. is-
Other than an actual balance on free cash, we'd know, but
Yeah, I
it's
only,
not like another pathway of finding that money is going to be available.
there's plenty of money to cover that right now, but if you weren't comfortable doing it, it's the only reason I say you have some time, I think. Right, chief?
Connor,
No, I mean, I think in this instance, it makes sense given how timely of a nature
Hmm.
it is and knowing how expensive it was going to be on capital that we can do one out of payment instead of 5. That makes rational sense.
Mike, I can't see you, but do you have any thoughts and comments?
I understand what the chief's concerns is, and I believe one of his concerns is an increase in the price if we were to miss the opportunity. Is that correct?
Correct.
And I don't know exactly what that window of opportunity is. We certainly don't want to see that dissipate and have it cost us more money moving forward. I think it's a little bit of procedural here. Make sure we make that window of opportunity, but follow the policy.
Another question.
Yep.
Chief, so I know that this one was on the capital list and I don't recall there being like anything in the future truck wise. So would this bring the fleet like mostly up to date for a while, would you say?
Correct. The reason this was on it sooner than it should have been is just the delivery time. And that's when I first talked to Mary about putting it on there. I said, the plan was originally to stagger the lease payments. Have a lease payment for 5 years, then get another truck for 5 years. But because of the delivery time, it kind of kills us on You know, when we get our trucks. So this actually, it'll give us, once engine two's replacement is paid off, we have a few free years actually until engine three needs to be replaced, which will probably be sometime in 2030 or after that, long after I'm retired.
But we're not close to the 25-year mark that.
No, that's a 2009. So yeah,
Common affliction.
we got time on that, right?
So we'll have a newer ladder truck, which I've seen, which is beautiful. We've got one on order now. That
And
we're
then this
paying,
one.
and then this one, so we have,
Our fleet will be within range, right? Yep. And both of the fire trucks will be similar in a similar cab as the ladder truck. So when it comes to training and operations, it just streamlines everything. Whereas when I started, we had 4 different trucks and yet each truck operated differently. So this is kind of, you're streamlining it. It makes more sense. And the standards on all the trucks are becoming safer for the firefighters and for the operation and how they hold the tools and how they hold, pump water and all that. So it's different. Yeah. But then you throw all that other stuff on it and adds the cost.
so my suggestion would we be doing this in 2 parts. The first would be the motion that's here to approve the award. And then what we'll do is follow up with a motion for free cash in the amount stipulated. So with that being said, Matt, is there a motion?
I motion to approve a $752,380.95 FEMA award to the East Long Meadow Fire Department per Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53A.
I will second that motion.
Okay, having a motion made and seconded. Any additional discussion? We will do a roll call vote. Mike, I'm going to start with you.
Yes.
Connor,
Yes.
Marilyn,
Yes.
I'm a yes. Kathy?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Anna?
Yes.
Okay, we received a grant. So would someone like to take their shot at making a motion from free cash?
I can try.
Thank you.
I move to approve a $221,330.05 transfer from free cash to the fire department for the town's portion of the fire truck in relation to the FEMA award.
I'll second.
That sounded pretty good.
Yeah.
It was written.
Rolled.
It did. Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none. Anna,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Marilyn,
I'm a yes.
Connor,
Yes.
and Michael.
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
You're very.
Jeannie, was
Good
that
job.
motion good, appropriate? Everything sounded?
Yeah, it did.
I know.
Almost like I wrote it.
Win-win.
Okay, we'll move on to the next one. It's a hazardous materials emergency preparedness grant.
Done with us?
That's mine, but yeah, I don't,
Okay, you were so.
that's a simple one. Sorry, it's not bigger, but. Thank you.
So let's entertain a motion.
I move to approve a $4,676 hazardous materials and preparedness grant for the Urbana Fire Department for Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53A.
I'll second it.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I will do a roll call vote. Michael,
Yes.
Connor,
Yes.
Marilyn,
Yes.
I'm a yes. Kathy,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
and Anna.
Yes.
Thank you, chief. That was
Thank you,
great
everybody.
job. Great job with the grants. It's awesome. Okay, we have the approval of $1,000 donation for the Leahy Field Maintenance. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve $1,000 donation check from Dan Reynolds for the Leahy Field Maintenance per Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53A.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, we will do a roll call vote. Anna,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Kathy.
Yes.
I'm a yes. Marilyn.
Yes.
Connor
Yes.
and Michael.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That brings us to the appropriation of 41,700 from the water enterprise retained earnings. Is there a motion?
I move to approve the appropriation of $41,700 from water enterprise retained earnings to pay 25% of the design fee for the Chestnut Street Pump Station Rehabilitation Project.
A second. Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we will do a roll call vote. Michael,
Yes.
Connor,
Yes.
Marilyn.
Yes.
I'm a yes. Kathy.
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Anna.
Yes.
Okay, moving right along. Okay, next up is old business. The town manager search update. So I believe it was 2 meetings ago. I had told you that I would get together with our HR director, Joan, and discuss with her what the steps would be going forwards, looking for a town manager. I talked to her this week again. She had suggested that the council may want to consider opening it up to internal candidates first before we go outside. She felt as though the pool of candidates on the outside probably hadn't changed a lot. And she thought it would be appropriate to open it up internally. Wanted to bring it back to the board, open up a discussion and see what the thoughts were. And I'm gonna ask Mary afterwards to put her 2 cents in. I'm gonna start with Connor.
Okay.
Oh,
I saw his hand up, so.
You go.
Thank you, Ralph. I think since the last time we had talked about it, I'm still in the position of us doing it, the search ourselves, kind of like we had discussed. So I haven't changed in that perspective.
Okay.
I think that seems to align with the same general consensus. I don't know that I love the thought of doing it like in 2 phases, like opening it to internal candidates first and then to external. I feel as though we should evaluate them all at the same time and just let it be one big pool, and wherever they fall, that's how we'll proceed. I don't necessarily want it to look like we're giving favoritism a third shot around,
Right.
as opposed to how we did it previous attempts.
Okay, Marilyn.
I had, Ralph shared that he was thinking about doing this, and I've had a chance to think about it, and we have a number of very skilled and qualified, in my mind, department heads already within our town hall, our community, and perhaps there might be some interest from someone who's, that we have no idea what I don't know what everyone's resume looks like. I just know how well they perform in what they do. And it might be nice to see what we attract in terms of our own people. Why not, start with home, and then if it doesn't work out, then we branch out. That would be my thought. I'm not against it. Let's put it that way.
Okay. Any other thoughts? Direction, help me. Michael.
Having been involved in numerous processes, I'm going to stay aligned with the process that we spoke of a few months back, and I believe we can do this internally. The biggest change is we now have an HR department if assistance from that department is required. And I would also advocate not forming a screening committee. Again, at this time, I believe there's enough talent right here that we can conduct the search and find an applicant on our own.
So by that, Mike, are you saying that you think we should advertise in, let's say, the MMA and open it up internally for a search? Or are you thinking that ask for anyone who's already an employee of the town that's interested?
The second part of your phraseology, how's that?
Okay,
Rather than repeating it, no, I don't think we need outside resources at this point. If you're talking about a formal company or.
no, I wasn't talking about a formal.
Talking about
company.
marketing outside of the employees we have.
Exactly, like advertising in the MMA for town manager's position, please send a resume. Or should we just keep it to our employees that exist now and send out a notice to all of our employees? If anyone's interested, please submit a resume.
I'd be happy to hear from the rest of the council members but where I'm going with that is that I feel if we feel that we have the talent inside the building right now, and there are viable people that could fulfill that position, then I would not be against keeping it internal.
Kathy?
I would echo how Marilyn expressed it, that there is, based on how efficient we see our department heads operating and the good things that come of their work, I don't believe there's any harm in starting with an internal search. And then I will repeat what Michael just said about, and Connor has advocated for this for a while, remove the screening committee from the whole process. In retrospect, over especially the last time, it created an awkward layer that I think we can avoid if we're certainly, we've done this enough. As you have said, and we all know this to be likely true, that the candidate pool for managers across the Commonwealth is probably restricted to Western Mass, maybe up to Central Mass, because of the capacity for us first to be able to pay a salary, to pay a competitive salary. And it competitive to us is not going to be competitive to potential candidates from the metropolitan Boston area, North and South Shore. So we could be looking, when we get to that point, if we get to that point, at the same kind of names and resumes we've seen in past years. So I would first start with an internal search and eliminate the screening committee and allow the committee just to proceed and handle the hiring piece themselves.
Anna?
So I think when you first suggested it like 3 minutes ago, I don't know if I loved the idea, because you just don't want to come across as having any favoritism. But as I sat here, you guys have had 2 searches in the past, opened it up. I mean, I'm sure, like you said, the pool out there, I'm sure hasn't changed considerably. So I guess why not try internally first and see where that takes us?
Yeah.
Can internal applicants not apply to a whole search?
They can apply to a whole search. Like I said,
I guess I just don't see the benefit in not doing an expansive search. Like, okay, you'll get the same people that we didn't want in the past will reapply, presumably. As someone who has applied to jobs I've been rejected from before, I never heard back the second time. They won't hear back, but maybe we'll get someone that we really, now I have personally a very strong preference for an internal candidate probably, but because but I see no reason to limit the scope of the search. That seems limiting unless it's I don't really agree, I guess.
it's a good point, Connor.
Now that I've had another extra couple minutes to think about it.
Sorry.
I think, the points are well taken on me. That we definitely have strong internal candidates that do a wonderful job for the town. However, the more I was thinking about it the past few minutes, if we were to maintain the same level of qualifications that we used to not move forward with the previous 2 searches and candidates that were before us, then I wonder that would already disqualify from the get-go an internal search for most of the potential internal candidates that we may have. And then if that were to happen, it seems like it would limit us in the event that the second phase of opening it up externally, if we didn't find somebody that we didn't like there, but we already moved past the internal search because candidates may not have met our stated qualifications. If it's just one big pool, you have a little bit more flexibility on who you choose in the end.
So my question is going to be to Mary, only because it's more procedural. If we advertise in the MMA, is there a minimum length of time that you advertise? Is it 30 days or?
You can choose your deadline. You can say applications accepted until such and such a date.
And
Generally speaking, they go out for 30 days, give or take.
is the MMA a weekly publication, a monthly?
I don't know how frequently they update the employment opportunities on that site.
That's true. They probably put them right on.
It's
the
all
site.
online.
Okay.
It's a bit of a task for our HR if that's the entity to whom applicants would respond. I can't minimize that. I mean, I understand what you're all suggesting, but that's another capacity issue for our ability to vet and whatnot.
I didn't think of that portion of it. That's why I asked you, Marilyn.
I believe last month's Beacon or the last publication, there wasn't any advertisement for a town manager position at all.
But there have been in past.
Oh, no, I know
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
but I'm just
that's
saying
right.
last month.
Yeah.
So, being the only show in town, we could potentially attract a number of candidates. But I'm still leaning towards starting internal first. I don't know why. I guess, and help me. I don't know if I remember it from my nursing days or whether it's just policy within employment unions. Are positions often posted in-house first before they're posted out in the community?
That's what our unions.
Right,
according to
that's
our
probably
union
what I'm-
contracts go.
Okay, that's what I'm
All
probably.
union, pretty much all union
Okay.
contracts
Okay.
start there.
Not that I'm implying this is
No,
the
no, no,
permanent
no.
situation, but I do recognize that we have some incredible people here, and I don't know if we started that way, we might be surprised at who might be interested. I don't know. In-house first, that's what I mean.
Right.
Do we have an agreed upon job description and requirements? I know we did when we did our last search. I guess the question is more, are we okay with that first before do we want to,
It's about 12 pages long. I'm just joking.
So you're saying yes.
I think I have one. I'm not even sure, to tell you the truth.
well,
There was one
I'm
that
sure,
we,
yeah,
yeah.
okay. But do we see a need without looking at it? Should we look at it first and make sure, okay, that's what we wanted to read?
It probably doesn't hurt to relook at it again just to make sure we're all on the same page.
So I could probably acquire that pretty quickly from Joan. I think she still has the same requirement advertising, however you want to word it. Obviously, this has gone on, so I'd like to really get the ball moving. June's going to be here before we know it. My thought would be, let me see if I can't get that tomorrow within the next 48 hours, hopefully. Email it over or have Joan email it to each one. If there's any recommendations of changing it, then I would say,
Send it to Jim.
yeah, send it to Joan as a recommendation and then we can play from it from there if everyone's okay with it. My thought process is April 11th is coming up pretty quick.
Right.
You think that's too fast to open it up to the town and have
I
town
don't think
employees?
it's too quick. I think everybody knows the end is near for my employment, so I don't think it'll come as a surprise to anybody.
I guess my thought was maybe we can open it up to internal for a short period
2
of time.
weeks.
Yeah. Take a look. And then at that point, we choose to put an ad in I mean, we could.
Right.
But we should clean up the language if
That's
it
why I
needs to
wanna
be
send
cleaned
it,
up.
yeah.
Right. First.
With the first, we don't want to repeat the issue, not
Right.
meeting the standards of the charter with which is what fell into place with our first search.
Yep.
That ended up moving to the second search. Right.
Connor, you had another,
Yeah, when it comes to like the verbiage there, if we're gonna. At the end of the meeting agenda, like schedule an upcoming executive session, could we tack on to the beginning of that additional meeting to approve
15
whatever
minutes, right?
final language is here for the town manager?
I don't see why not.
Yeah, that would be quick because we'd all have given our input and she could send us a document with all the proposed changes.
That works for me.
I don't know if that requires executive session.
Oh,
No,
no,
no, no, it
not,
doesn't.
it's just at the same meeting time.
Oh,
It doesn't have to
okay.
wait until.
So if
Friday.
we're already gonna meet and then go into executive, it'll be an open meeting to
For
start.
just
that
a
we
few
just-
minutes, yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
That's what I was trying to say.
One significant change I can tell you is being a board member for Wescom. I've reported on Wescom at every meeting for 2.5 years now, and believe me when I tell you, it's a complex organization and it's very time consuming. And when
So that should be known in the job
I took the position,
expectations. Right.
selected, we had our independent dispatch.
Dispatch, correct.
So that's a major change. Just among many, perhaps some others, I don't know, off the top of my head, that's the one that.
You sit with the veterans.
Well, we were always a member of the district.
Okay.
It never seemed to have such upheaval, except the last years.
So is it your presumption that your successor would simply fill your spot on the Westcom board? Or do they have to go back and revote?
No, the Westcom district agreement has a procedure for backfilling and it calls for the town manager or the town administrator of each member community to be the board member.
Okay, so it's,
I think there is a way that the council can appoint someone else. But we haven't done that.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that, like you said, part of the job description is
well,
gonna
that should be in
that.
there because it's, if it's that time consuming, then that should
Okay.
be known.
So if I have the permission of the council, I will talk to Joan. We'll try and, like I said, make sure we get everything compiled so that I can send it out to everyone and then respond back. And we'll talk about an executive session a little bit later in the meeting tonight. But if we can, what we'll do is open the meeting. We'll discuss whatever we need to about that, get that done before we go into the executive.
Just one other thing just crossed my mind. The master plan has been implemented July of 21. And I look and see Mr. Mitchell there, and the town manager's office is responsible for the implementation of 52 initiatives under the master plan, give or take.
The town managers.
Town managers.
Responsible for everything.
Well, so the council needs to, do that. I think it's time to interview
Right.
whichever persons you intend to interview. But, so those are things that weren't on my radar when I started, but they've since become
Morphed into it, right?
important. And so,
Maybe it wouldn't hurt for Mary to as well. Put her eyes on these and then.
yeah, I'm just thinking Joan may not be aware of that.
Correct, but you can
Plan.
annotate it for her.
Can do that.
My walking orders.
Bob.
Okay, new business. We have an energy reduction plan. Bailey, what do you got for us?
Good evening. How?
We changed it and adjusted it and now we're gonna save 80%.
Yeah. So I'll be brief on my presentation. As I submitted a memorandum to the council, kind of explaining everything pretty in depth at this point. This is the final action that's required for us to become a green community, or at least apply to become a designated green community. The specific energy conservation measures that are outlined in the plan itself. I just want to note that those are kind of to be served as guidelines. They're example projects that would add up to the required 20% reduction over 5 years. So while if we did implement them all to a T, we would hit the goal that we're I guess aspiring to do. And also I'm looking for a word here and I'm blanking on it, but those projects are just guidelines. So that's just to, serve as a guideline to the town in terms of what sort of projects we could do, and some other projects may be added or subtracted in the future based on building stock changes, which is another thing I noted in my memo with specific guidelines on that. And those would be addressed in future annual reports that we submit to the state. So I think that's pretty much everything. Like I said, most of it's covered in the memo, so.
So the energy reduction plan that you've submitted is basically the first 5 years, reduce it by 20%. I'm just curious after that, what's the goals?
So there's nothing current. There's nothing in the current guidelines. I'm not sure, being from out of state, I'm not sure how the past 10 years have been because it's been going on for a while. And whether they've changed that goal over time or added to certain communities that have reached that goal. I don't know what they've done there, but I'm sure as technology has progressed, those communities have found other needs to supplement that they could supplement their buildings with, and also that would probably be eligible for grant funds outside of the energy reduction plan. So I guess in other words, although they had met their goal, they may have other energy efficiency projects that they could supplement, or they could have a grant fund need for, if that makes sense.
So if I may, as far as the grants go, is if something's not on that list and all of a sudden we realize, hey, this would be something that'd be really good and save energy, we can still use that project and apply for a grant for it. It may not be.
Yeah, so long as it's used or it meets the guidelines of the grant application itself. Yeah.
Kathy.
If the goal is to reduce by 20% over 5 years, what happens if we make progress, but we don't hit the 20% marker?
Currently, there's never been any, clawback or anything from the state. There's not any, that's not going to happen. They actually state that in the guidelines to the energy reduction plan step as well. So, so long as we're, striving towards it. And, we will have grant funds to apply to this. So it's pretty much given that any community that becomes a green community will at least strive towards it to the degree they can with the grant funds that are supplied. So.
Questions?
Two.
Okay.
Thank you. Overall, it looks great. I just noticed on page 13, the second bullet point down, it mentions scheduling smaller gatherings, which requires less energy to heat than the public safety complex, but we don't really have a public safety complex. So I feel like maybe the terminology there needs to be changed perhaps. And then on page 15, as this is more of a question, it currently says that the town council would be responsible for implementing the energy reduction plan. But I would think that that would be more the town manager, since we can't to employees what to do.
Yeah, so generally, some of the verbiage in the plan admittedly was, most of it was constructed by PVPC, and they made that change to the page 15. I didn't have a chance to edit that out. That was a late addition from them. And then I didn't have a chance to catch it and then get it before it was approved by the school committee, and we need both approvals to move forward, and the deadline's the end of this month. So because of all that, I'm suggesting that we just approve it as is and make any adjustments to it through the annual reporting process as needed, because the deadline is coming up, like I said. And most of them, if not all of them, are minor and don't affect the actual content of the plan.
Also, Ralph, if I may, the
Yes.
PVPC was referring to this board as the Board of Selectmen in many of the prior iterations of these documents. So I think when they acknowledge that it's now a council form, I think everywhere that Board of Selectmen, they just inserted town council. So I think Bailey's spot on with his explanation that it's just a grammatical insert that's it's not grammatical, it's a substantive insert that's inaccurate, but
Yeah.
easily remedied.
Well, my thought is some of it with the implementation is this board still has to
Money.
vote on accepting grants and
That's.
the
we're not
budget and where the
involved,
money's going.
But in terms of
So,
right.
implementation, it should,
Stay at the.
yeah,
it should technically be the town manager for day-to-day purposes,
That's another thing.
but
okay. Does anyone have any other questions on the energy reduction? If not, is someone willing to give me a motion?
I move to approve the adoption of the energy reduction plan for the town green communities designation as presented.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we will do a roll call vote. Anna?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Marilyn?
Yes.
Connor?
Yes.
Michael?
Done.
No, he's there. He's
Oh, he's muted.
Oh.
Sorry, I was muted. I'm a yes.
Okay. I saw the head nod a little bit, I assumed, but. Okay, D2. Proposed zoning amendments for self-storage facilities. That's you, Bailey. We're right back to you again.
yeah. So I also submitted a short memo for this one as well. The amendments that I'm proposing to the self-storage or in relation to self-storage facilities. There were a couple of issues that I noticed as I was going through the bylaws for the site plan amendments that I previously brought to the council. And just a couple of notes, I guess. Generally, self-storage facilities in town aren't permitted under our current zoning bylaws. And there are at least 3 that I know of off the top of my head that have been permitted in the past. And so this is kind of to rectify that issue, as well as potentially permitting these uses in the industrial district and industrial garden park through a special permit from the planning board. And that is just essentially to say that, you know, they already exist in those districts. So to some degree, the community has, you know, agreed that that's a need that we need, or a use that we need, and a use that we find, you know, appropriate for those districts. So that's pretty much that in a nutshell.
So I'm not sure how many of us read the charter on a daily basis.
Come on.
But as I talked to Bailey, this process seems a little redundant. Because the planning director has to come to us, ask us for permission to refer it to him so that they can craft it and bring it back to us. But it's the way we did it. And I think we did that in the charter to try and keep the ball bouncing around, to give people a lot of chance to see it advertised. And that's really where we're at. I mean, I think if the planning director is bringing a proposal, it only makes sense to refer it back to him. Is there any discussion on this before I look for a motion? I am looking for a motion then for approval.
Motion is as follows. Motions to refer proposed zoning amendments for self-storage facilities to the planning board for recommendations to the town council.
Second,
Any further discussion? Hearing none, this is a roll call vote. Michael,
Yes.
Connor,
Yes.
Marilyn,
Yes.
I'm a yes. Kathy?
yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Anna?
Yes.
You've got it back.
Thank you.
Okay. The approval of street acceptances for Hidden Pond subdivision. I have a motion.
I motion to approve the street acceptance of northern portion Redstone Drive for the Hidden Pond subdivision.
Second that motion?
Is there any discussion on street acceptance? Connor?
Just one question. So I noticed like in your memo to us that we had a bond that we were holding, but then we retained 20%. What happens to that percent we keep?
So the 20% is to be held for essentially any, if the infrastructure is to fail within that period of time, it kind of holds, or it allows the town to make any repairs that are necessary in that amount of time.
In that amount of time? Year typically after.
18 months, I believe, in the subdivision rules and regs, yeah.
And so basically what gives us the ability to hold money. We've had problems or issues way back where we accepted a street, and the street wasn't completed, or the top coat just completely crumbled and fell apart. And without holding any money, the town got stuck paying.
Yeah.
The developer just walked away and said, I'm not doing anything. There's nothing you can do. All my houses are sold and I'm done. So in this instance, it gives us 18 months to make sure everything's in order, was done correctly, that there's no issues that appear afterwards.
Yep.
And if there is, usually ask the developer to do the repairs. If they don't, then we look to go for the bond money. After 18 months, the developer will be sitting back in front of them asking for their money back.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Okay, having a motion made, seconded, all the discussion done. I will go with a roll call vote. Anna,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
I'm a yes. Marilyn,
Yes.
Connor,
Yes.
Michael.
Yes.
Okay. And then let's look to the second portion, the second street under D3.
I move to approve the street acceptance of Hidden Ponds Drive for the Hidden Pond subdivision.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Roll call vote. We'll start with Anna,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Kathy.
Yes.
I'm a yes. Marilyn,
Yes.
Connor,
Yes.
Michael.
Yes.
Okay. The streets have been accepted. We have a non-binding question for the municipal light plant.
Mr. President, before you go to that item,
Yes.
can I just take this opportunity at the encouragement and reminder from our illustrious town clerk to thank Bailey for the enormous effort that went into putting that Green Communities.
Yes.
It was,
I know the council spent a
No.
ton of time on the elements of it, and he was at the school committees, their meetings, but it was an enormous effort and very complicated, and it involved the interface with many other agencies. And I just I want the town to know how important it is, and to thank you for your efforts, because you were great.
Thank you.
thank
Top
you.
job.
You answered all of my questions. Amazing, because I always have quite a few. We do appreciate it.
Now he's gonna write it.
Okay. We have a non-binding question. I will entertain a motion.
I move to approve the placement of a non-binding question on the June 6, 2023 annual town election ballot regarding the establishment of a municipal light plant pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 53, Section 18A.
Kathy, I'm feeling generous tonight. I'm gonna second your motion.
There you go.
Okay, under further discussion. Tom, would you like to explain real quick where we are at with this? Sure. Been lucky enough to go with Tom and Ryan to multiple meetings, different towns and stuff, and I think this is just the next step in process.
Yep, thank you. Yeah, so this is just Mass General Law requires an affirmation of both of your affirmative votes to create the MLP. So this is just to get the question on the ballot so that we can create an MLP if we decide to do so. That's why it's not binding. It's required by law. There's your 2 votes and then the town has to affirm. So it's pretty exciting. We like Mary said before, we met with Westfield and South Hadley Electric Light. Very similar rollout of fiber, similar situation, similar pricing. But we just thought Westfield was a better fit for our community. So the broadband committee is going to be back in full swing. You'll be happy to know. And so I just met with them last week to we kind of let them know that we were going to be heading that direction with Westfield. I met with their sales rep to kind of go over some of the details. It is not getting me any updated information yet. They had provided us with quite a bit of information on like sort of a proposal of what it would cost to sort of put all the infrastructure in. The operation that they provide is call it soup to nuts. They do everything. We don't have to hire anybody. We charge whatever X amount of dollars, and a third of that charge goes to Westfield. They handle marketing, they handle billing. We don't have to do anything except enjoy better download speeds. Yeah, basically. So they've already did some of that pre-engineering feasibility stuff, sort of pro bono at this point. We obviously can't enter into any agreements until we create the MLP. So that's why this question is going to be on the ballot for June, so that when July 1 comes along, or when assuming a positive vote, I don't really see a downside, but assuming a positive vote, we'll get rolling with some pilot programs. Maybe not mine and Ryan's neighborhood like they suggested, but we'll pick out some areas that their marketing is actually great too. They'll have an interactive thing on the website where people can, say that they're interested. And then if it makes sense, if we have a large portion of a neighborhood that has 80% of the people interested, we'll build that out first. And then we'll obviously, who couldn't use another revenue stream. So that'll be nice. But really it's an amazing product. Obviously better than anything that's in the air now, or that's offered to any of the, and again, the master plan comes up again. This was mentioned in all the surveys. Everybody wants a better provider. So who better than the town to provide that for them?
So I think one of the main keys here, every time I read municipal light plant, all I can think of is up off of Route 5. You got the Mass Electric plant up there and all that. That's not what this is. This is just, it's basically paperwork, which we create, and the state recognizes us to be able to install our own fiber optics for the residents in the town. It's not like we're going to go out and buy trucks and this and that. I mean, we're not hanging the fiber or anything like that. We don't have anything to do with that. It's just giving us the ability to bring fiber optics to everyone, which is
yeah. So yeah, before we get too far ahead in the planning stage, obviously the community needs to vote to create an MLP, and that's the gist of the ballot question, basically. And this is we borrowed the language, as we usually do, from other communities that have already had a ballot question. So this is sort of a mishmash. Jeannie did a nice job tracking down West Springfield and East Hampton's language from their ballot question that West Springfield did last year and East Hampton in 19, I want to say. So basic language. And that's where we're at. So I hope maybe next meeting, if Westfield gives us some updated numbers, I don't want to throw any, the town has a substantial fiber network that they weren't aware of. So it's really cut down the cost of the rollout quite a bit. So hopefully when we get those numbers, I can share them with you in April, or the broadband committee share.
And I think if we pass that, it enhances your grant applications once you're a green community, when you're also an MLP community.
Yeah.
Win-win.
Win. Faster speeds, deeper. So we have a motion on the floor. It has been seconded. Is there any other discussion? Then I will do a roll call vote. Michael, I'm going to start with you.
Yes.
Connor?
Yes.
Marilyn? I'm a yes. Kathy?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Anna?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
Thank you.
Exciting stuff.
Looking forward,
Yeah.
even if it is an uncontested race in June, people still have to show up for MLP. Action items for next meeting. So what I've put on here is I'd like to set up an executive session. Actually, I'd like to set up another meeting. My thought was March 28th, which is next Tuesday. We would do the initial meeting. We would open it up and talk about any information that Joan gives me, description or anything, and if we have to adjust that. And then we would have an executive session to discuss 382 North Main Street. Does the time and date work for everyone?
Next Tuesday, what time is it?
Tuesday evening, 6 o'clock.
Same time. Okay.
Yeah, I can do 6. I'm good.
Michael, are you okay with Tuesday evening, 6 o'clock?
I am.
Okay. So I'm gonna ask Jeannie to post that going forwards for our next meeting.
No revisions to the agenda this time.
None. One iteration.
I would never say that. Forever.
So. And we'll go back to our regular meeting after that, which would be April 11th, which is the second Tuesday, so. Is there any other action items anyone can think of? Hearing none. There is no executive session. Okay. A motion for adjournment.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
I don't think we have to do a roll call on that one. Do you want me to do a roll call? Michael?
Yes.
Connor?
Yes.
Marilyn?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Kathy?
Has anyone ever said no?
I did once. Matt?
Yes.
Anna?
Yes.
We are adjourned. Thank you so much, everyone.